Chris Medlin sitting in front of what is a very brand new SR3 RS. It looks immaculate in chrome, but does it go as well as it looks?
Well, it went pretty well at Eastern Creek when we shook it down in the dry. We haven't had a chance to let it stretch its legs yet, but no, it's great. I mean, the new cars are just a little bit better everywhere. The brakes are fantastic. Yeah, no, it's a fantastic car. And of course, we opted this one up because we wanted to demonstrate a little what else you could do. You know, so we got the chrome wrap, and we got some upholstery on the seats, and you know, we basically ticked every box. And you know, we just want people to, we want our customers to start experimenting with the same sort of thing. You know, unlike, because the mechanical specifications are so similar, most people here are running 1500s. You know, most people have got now F1 gear shifts. Most people have got the bigger brakes. Most people have got more aero. You know, it's really just the personalisation to suit you that's left. And it comes at, you know, very little cost.
After an amazing opening race on day one, we're heading to day two. Let's go and talk to pole sitter Jonathan Miles about the way he's going to approach things.
Well, I just want to make sure I don't stall it off the line, and we've got some brand new slicks on the cars for this race, and I just want to make sure I sort of scrub them in well enough on the warm-up lap. And I don't want to be turning it around on the warm-up lap trying to get that temperature in, because the tyres are quite slippery for the first lap or two until they really get the heat into them. So it might be a bit tiptoey for the first lap or two, and then hopefully if we're still towards the front, we'll maybe be able to pull a bit of a lead on some of the other guys. That's the idea, that's the goal.
And this is the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit, 4.4 kilometres in length, 12 turns. Turn 1 is for the brave-hearted, and the radicals will get around this track in around about a 1:36, which is moving in anybody's language. As the cars come out onto the grid for the second race of the weekend, this is the Enduro, Sean. Should be an absolute thriller.
Looks like it's just got a whole heap more exciting, Grant Boyden, because the race leader, the pole setter, Jonathan Miles, has speared off on the warm-up lap. He was saying he needs to get heat in the tyres. That's not the way to do it.
No, well, they're not going to take part in the start of this race, so a big disappointment as we take a look at the 17 cars that are going to be out there. The pole position is vacant at the moment as we stand by 50 minutes ahead of us on board the 16 car for the start, waiting. Away they go, nice and cleanly. We've got a stalled car there. It looks like the 70 machine of Tony Palmer has got nowhere, and great driving by Walker to avoid a collision.
Tony Palmer will be disappointed with that. That's a brand new SR3 RS, a 2011 model. He just doesn't seem to be able to find a start gear. They have selection problems on the odd occasion. Seems like he's caught in a gear he doesn't need to be in. But up front, Richard Bloomfield, paired this weekend with Bryce Moore. Great start. He's jumped to the lead. Behind him, you've got Peter Opie and Steve Shelley. 4th race meeting ever in his life. Starts on the front row, but it looked to me, Grant Boyden, like he actually jumped the start just before they were given the green.
Well, we'll see what the officials have to say about it. The cars being a little bit tentative on this opening lap because it's very, very cold here at Phillip Island, and tyres would not be up to temperature just yet. The 4 car, Edward Singleton down the inside, takes the race lead in turn 4.
The MPA Projects team boss, of course, supporting this category. Gary Walker around the outside of Byron Smith there, and trying to look up the inside of Sue Hughes as he dives into Siberia and pulls that move off. As you say, very tentative on the opening lap. They saw what happened on cold tyres quite visibly. The pole sitter, the man who was on the front row, spears off trying to get heat into his tyres, so they don't want to make that mistake.
Well, I think Gary Walker's got a bit of temperature in there because he's driving with a great deal of confidence at the moment, as you can see, picking up a spot on the outside through Honda, which is no mean feat. Oh, big brake lock-up by the looks of things, or is it worse than that? No, just a brake lock-up down into MG. That's the 1 car. Barton Moore, an Opie entered machine through this final section of turns to come onto the start-finish straight, but those rear Dunlops will be a bit second-hand.
Like Richard Bloomfield, paired with Bryce Moore. Peter Opie, of course, as Grant just said, is paired with Barton Moore, an expert in open wheel category. He's driven these cars before, very quick, but the 2 guys with pro drivers have got an additional 30-second pit stop penalty, so Peter Opie will be pretty keen to get away and open up a big gap before he needs to hand over to Bart Moore.
And Sean, I dare say that Bart's pretty good in cold conditions too. He's raced in the UK. Look at that battle up front. Ensel's got a fantastic view of this battle for the race 3 that's going on, and looks like he's going to pick up another spot too. Singleton being overtaken, relegated back to 3rd as Ensel is on a charge.
Nice move there by Ollie Smith. What's he going to do under brakes though? He's gone in too far. That's not good. Interesting there, Jonathan Miles has forced his way back through the field, so he has managed to make a start. He's coming back through the field, so that'll be interesting to see how far towards the front he can get, because, of course, they won the opening race, the opening Enduro, back at Wakefield Park.
Let's take a look at what happened with Ollie. You can see down under the braking. Looks like he just missed his braking marker by a considerable margin. Manages to keep it out of harm's way and continue on, albeit down a couple of spots.
Disappointing for him, back in behind Glenidas, back in behind Simon Haggerty, who's doing a great job this weekend, just keeping the car straight. And of course, for a lot of these guys, this is the very first time they've seen the Phillip Island circuit, as we watch Jonathan Miles all over the back of Ed Singleton.
Oh, it's an intimidating place, and to be in such a fast car, like a Radical, that is designed to get around these courses very, very quickly. Phillip Island would be intimidating even to those that have got experience like Barton Moore. Big overtaking manoeuvre. They've tagged.
That's a tough one there. That's tight. Of course, Ed Singleton had a lot of banging going on the day before in exactly the same part of the circuit with the man who leads this race, Peter Opie. So there's a bit of track record here between these front 3 guys. They're all very serious competitors. They're all very keen to get away and pick up some serious time and some advantage over the chasing pack. Interesting here, it looks like John Miles has just backed off the pace there. Maybe he's seen a black flag. It looks like he's going to be penalised for having missed that start and spinning on the warm-up lap. And after the break, we'll return to the final stages of race 2. The action continues in race 2, but not so much for Gary Walker, rolling to a stop here on the run down to Honda. That doesn't look good. That's not a nice end to the day for the car that he and Robert Baird shared, of course, Radical Team Melbourne. It's a bit of a listen and see if we can pick up exactly why he's come to a stop.
Down through turn 1, it sounds okay. Goes back through the gears. And a box of neutrals by the sounds of that.
He's got drive okay through the engine, but it's not actually connecting to the gearbox. That's frustration for them. They're doing a good job. Gary's having a great time.
And showed good racecraft off the start line too, not to pick up the 70 car as the yellow flag comes out while they move Walker's car from harm's way.
Notice there the black flag, so we have this man on screen now, Steve Shelley, who started on position 2. Looks like he's jumped the start and he'll be penalised. So too the pole car. Jonathan Miles will be taking a trip into the pits, but whilst we've got a break in the traffic, let's go and talk to Dunlop UK about the tyre they've developed for this fantastic category.
Well, the tyres are purpose-built for Radical in the UK at the Birmingham factory, and it's very, very important for Dunlop Motorsport. Radical is one of their largest customers in the world. It's spreading out. We have championships all over the world which run on Dunlop tyres with the Radicals. So we've come over here just to have a look and give them a bit of advice.
You've got one tyre, one dry tyre compound for the Radicals worldwide. It's the same in the UK, it's the same in Australia. Pretty versatile.
Yeah, it's a standard control tyre compound that has to do many things. It runs in Dubai in the real hot conditions. It runs in the UK in cold conditions. It runs here in Melbourne in very cold conditions. So it's quite a good universal, has a very wide application to it.
You've seen Radical, obviously, on the coalface again, where it all started in the UK. How is Radical Australia shaping up in comparison?
I'm absolutely blown away with it here, because the professionalism of all the guys and everything for its second or third year is fantastic. They look like they're really doing a good job.
They'd be very happy to hear that. The Radical Australia Cup team do an awful lot of work to ensure that their competitors are happy, that they come to the best circuits, they're looked after, the cars are prepared, and they're ready to go. And we're ready to go as the safety car pulls off and the field starts. We're back into race mode, Grant Boyden.
Yeah, unfortunately for Walker, he's having a tour of pit lane, which is not where he wanted to be for this enduro race, second race of the weekend. Green flags waving, so back under full noise. Now time to try and bring these cars back up to race temperature after a slow tour of this racetrack.
It's interesting hearing Dunlop talk about this tyre was developed, of course, for these cars, which were built and designed in the UK, built for English conditions where it's cool. But he was making the point of saying It's also made for Melbourne, which is cooler. So hopefully these guys will be able to get temperature into these tyres fairly quickly. It's interesting up front, you're seeing the three guys that battled for the front of the field in the first Enduro at the opening round of Radical Australia Cup at Wakefield Park. So we'll see whether or not the positions remain the same. Of course, in that stage, the guy who was setting the pace was Jonathan Miles. Scratch Jonathan Miles for this weekend. That's the end of his run. Of course, they won race one. They did a nice job. Recovery from Tim Perryman's spin on the opening lap and came back through the field to take victory. But I think the pace this weekend is going to be Bart Moore and Peter Opie. Of course, Peter Opie's the reigning Radical Australia Cup champion from 2010.
On board the 44 car, the interior developments machine. Green, lucky racing green. Nobody likes to race in green. They reckon it's bad luck in the UK. Well, he's not doing too bad at the moment in the 44 machine. Finds himself well and truly in the top 10. Sitting in about 6th spot at the moment. There is your race leader. Under pressure from Singleton now.
Clinidis has done a very good job with Radical Australia Cup. He's one of the drivers who's been with this series pretty much since its formative time. He's shown that he's very, very fast. Further back here is a bit of a family feud. We've got Oliver Smith in front of his younger brother, Byron. Byron shares the car with their father, Greg, from Radical Australia, so they're enjoying a nice little bit of pace at the front of the field here. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully they'll keep it clean.
Well, it's enjoyable up until one person hits the other. Then, you know, Christmas lunches become a little bit difficult after that.
Yes, the toys start coming out of the pram. Ed Singleton, the Singletini SR3 RS, as Jan Ginadasa and Dean Koutsamides, two regulars in the Porsche GT3 Cup Challenge in the Shannons Nationals, joining forces this weekend for their first taste at Radical Australia Cup. And judging by the look on Jan Ginadasa's face, broad smiles, he was very happy with it, as the man who was battling for the lead there, Ed Singleton, takes a spin. Oliver Smith avoids him, but that doesn't look good. He's having trouble restarting as Singleton gets himself mobile again.
Well, he came off once before and managed to keep the car going. Not so lucky this time. He's lost a whole heap of spots. Now let's see, brings it onto the track. Will continue on, but geez, lost a mountain of room, hasn't he?
A lot of frustration. He's done a very good job. We hadn't seen much of Ollie Smith over the last 6 months or so, but he's come into this field alongside Phil Anselon and proven very, very competitive. Qualified on the second row for this particular race. Was not far off the pace of the leaders. But up front, Ed Singleton's demise has given Peter Opie exactly what he wanted, a break, so he can go into that pit stop and regain some of that 30 seconds he's going to lose because he's got Bart Moore sitting alongside him as the pro.
And more importantly now, breathing space to concentrate on the racing lines, concentrate on the braking markers as we start our pit stops. The 57 car in.
Bryce Moore jumping in, the other of the pros in the field. Richard Bloomfield out in Tony Haggerty's car. Of course, he doesn't share the drive with anyone. He has to get out of the car, unbuckle, get out of the car, stand beside the car, get back in. He's got 60 seconds minimum for his stop as Ollie Smith goes round again. Still slippery out there, trying to get temperature.
Now.
Oh, he's not happy. He's got no grip. That looks like the outside of Honda. He'd be very disappointed. Frustration for the man from Sydney. That's it by the look of it.
The car has bottomed out and he's going nowhere fast, and that's in a precarious position. Here's how it happened. Once again, under brakes down into Honda, tries to turn it in. You could see him turn the wheel and the car just went straight.
He did that very early in the race, Grant. He just went in a little bit too deep, and that looks like it's going to be safety car period again. Prime opportunity for Peter Opie to pit and hand over to Barton Moore.
Race leader in the pits. And doesn't look like he's hopping out. You can see Barton Moore ready to go. Now he manages to disconnect.
They've got 90 seconds to do it, this team, in contrast to the rest of the teams who can do it in the 60-second minimum period.
Well, Bart's about 4 foot high, so it'll be easy to get into the car.
Well, it's interesting. I'm surprised that he needs a seat booster because Peter Opie's hardly the biggest bloke you'd ever meet, as Clinidis now leads the field away. Tony Palmer's clearly recovered. He's stalled on the grid in this race, but he's now just over a lap down, unfortunately, but he's back there with the lead group, so anything yet can happen. We saw that yesterday. We didn't know who was going to win the race. The guy who spun off the track and went into Southern Loop last after heading in there first up in third place, he came out last, won the race. How does that work? Well, it's been very unpredictable, and as we know, Grant Boyden, Phillip Island in damp conditions is exactly that.
Well, Phillip Island in any conditions is like that. It's one of the toughest racetracks to go around. Still problems getting this seat in for Barton Moore, who's limbering up and getting ready to go. But as you say, with such a big time penalty, they've got plenty of time to do it, although Bart is keen to get on with the job.
He loves these cars. I think purist motorsport people can do nothing but respect a sports car built like this with working aerodynamics like a Radical SR3. And it's got enough power. Okay, it's only a 1500cc higher booster engine tuned to about 240 odd horsepower, but gee, it's enough to get these things around here almost as quick as a V8 supercar.
And Bart would really appreciate these cars too, because he comes from an engineering background, so he's got an understanding of what's required to make these Radicals so fast. Quite often his mum travels around to quite a few of the tracks to watch her son go out there and play. Didn't travel across to the UK in those cold conditions though. Family business took priority over that.
You can't blame her for that. She's probably not at Phillip Island this weekend either, as Glenn Edis looks like he's going to serve a drive-through for probably starting that restart just a little bit too quickly. I think he got the jump on the safety car, and that might not have been looked at too favourably by the stewards. So he's serving a drive-through. That now hands the lead back towards Ed Singleton, so you can still have a spin and win in this race.
Yes, these restarts under safety car conditions are getting more and more confusing for competitors and punters alike, as the 71 car down in pit lane at the moment. The Davis Francois Joy machine is in to complete its pit stop, and plenty of attention at the rear of the car too.
They broke the back end of this car. It had a very large contact with the wall in the opening laps of race 1 in the wet conditions. You can see it's got a white back on it there. The boys rebuilt it overnight and got it mobile again. It broke a rear suspension piece in the left-hand side, and they've fixed that and got the car mobile. But clearly it's had a bit of a problem during this race, which is frustration for George. Up front though, well, what do we got there? That looked like Tony Haggerty doing a bit of a run back through the infield. So that's the end of him, which is frustration. Meanwhile, his son Simon is working his way towards the front of the field. So it's nice to see a father and son combination, each having a go and having a chance to enjoy this Radical phenomenon. As Glenn Edis rejoins, unfortunately for him, that now puts him half a lap down. But up front, Ed Singleton coming under fire now from Bryce Moore. He's worked his way through the field after the pit stop. But I think they're looking down at the timesheets. He's had a time penalty as well for speeding in pit lane, it seems. So this isn't actually for position. We've got Ed Singleton up front on his own. Ooh. As Bryce takes a look, he'd like to have that lap back, but I think we're running out of laps in which he can do that. Nice to see a young guy who's so competitive in the Australian Drivers' Championship in the Formula 3 series this year in the Shannon's Nationals, going so strongly, and he appreciates too, like Bart Moore does, getting into a purist motorsport vehicle.
Well, you know, race car drivers are race car drivers. It doesn't matter what machine that you're prepared to put underneath them. If you're prepared to give them a go, they're more than happy to go out and race. Checkered flag is at the ready.
It's going to be interesting to see who crosses the line. You see they've got the Davis car back out there, but Ed Singleton still under pressure from Bryce Moore. Jan Ginadas is in the mix as well. And that's it. That's victory. Race 2 in round 2 of Radical Australia Cup for Ed Singleton. Steve Shelley, amazing job. Started on the front row, got a drive-through penalty for jumping the start, worked his way back up to second, and Bart Moore and Peter Opie have overcome that penalty to grab third.
Oh, we're very happy. And to come to Phillip Island is a big logistic exercise for everybody, but it's been totally worth it. And we've all agreed that we'll be back again and again and again. It's that good a place.
It was an amazing race. I'm a bit lost for words at the moment, to be honest. I'm standing around all these people that have been driving for years, and this is my 4th race event, and there's a possibility I've come first. So, yeah, I'm very chuffed. Can't believe it. Very excited.
Ed Singleton, very interesting second round of Radical Australia Cup for 2011. Phillip Island threw up all sorts of things, and you were saying earlier probably experience played a little bit in your favour.
I think so. I haven't been here that many times, but certainly knowing the track makes a huge difference down here. The track flows brilliantly once you get a handle on it, and so no, we had a very enjoyable weekend.
A little bit of confusion with the results, but at the end, it's all about staying on track.
Oh, absolutely, especially in yesterday's race in the tricky conditions. I was out there on slicks. It was tricky, but stayed on the track. It was a little bit like the turtle and the hare. Got there at the end, so it was good.
Tricky was the word of the weekend for Radical Australia Cup round 2 at Phillip Island. It was an amazing event, but that's only round 2. Round 3 is yet to come from Winton Motor Raceway as round 3 of the Shannon's Nationals Motor Racing Championships. We'll see you then.
Speed Week returns next week. Coming up at 5, Cycling Central features the Tour of Toowoomba and cross-country marathon cycling from Nowra.